Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to take out the center drive shaft. Alright, it says this thing right here, this big giant metal piece of bar that's going across here, center drive shaft. So stay tuned. Alright guys, so taking this out is a piece of cake. It really is, guys. So you just got to take off this upper deck. So screw here, screw here, screw here, screw here, move this upper deck just like that, and now you're basically halfway there. See how easy that was? And then you remove this transmission cover, 2 screws here because you've already taken out these 2. Cover comes right off. One hand. Oh yeah. So now you're done with the upper part. So now we go to the bottom part, and you're doing this on the rear side, not the front side, the back side. So you want to take off these screws here, these 5 screws. The 3 in the front are longer than the 2 in the back. Let me take it out to show you guys. There you go, if you notice that. These 3 screws are these long ones, and the 2 short ones are this one. And that's that right there. So the purpose for these screws is to hold the whole bulkhead onto the chassis. Let me take this off and I'll show you. Yeah, so those screws on the bottom, this whole unit right here is held onto the chassis by those 5 screws. You take that off, you can actually wiggle this whole thing off the chassis, just like that. See how it's coming off already? And then the spur gear, you just lift it up out of this groove, and you want to take a flathead screwdriver, get in there on the bottom just like that, lift it up. I'm trying to do this with one hand, guys. Lift it up just like that. Once you got it lift up, you can move this out of the way. Just keep trying. There you go, you move it out of the way, and here's your, ta-da, there's your center drive shaft. This thing has some weight to it, and it's super duper thick. Look how straight it is. It's so thick that it's really hard to bend. But let me try to find something to compare the thickness with this. Alright, so I got my RGT rock crawler right here, and I'm gonna compare the center drive shaft of a JLB Cheetah to the links. And if you guys have one of these crawlers, you know these links are freaking humongous. So just comparing it, putting it side by side, they're basically the same diameter. So I'm guessing this is probably like 6 to 7 millimeters thick. And that's pretty thick. It's got some weight to it too. This thing is pretty hefty. But anyways, yeah, that's how you take it out. Putting it back in is again a piece of cake. It's the opposite. One thing to note. Now, both my JLB Cheetah, this one and the Generation 2, has an O-ring inside the cups here. This one and the one in the front, there's an O-ring inside. So the factory put O-rings in here to eliminate this type of play where it wobbles front and back. They put O-rings in here to eliminate that play. So if your center drive shaft is wobbling forward and back and has a lot of play, most likely the O-ring in here is probably all squished up. You might have to replace it or put something in here to make as a spacer to, you know, keep this from wobbling around, to keep it nice and tight. So yeah, that's a tip for you guys. Keep that in mind. Make sure you check it. I don't have to really check it with mines because you see that? There's an O-ring in there, and it came from the factory just like that. They put an O-ring in there to make space. So there's one back here, and there's also one, I don't know if I could show you guys. It's in that cup right there in the front. So yeah, Alright, putting the shaft back. You want to start with putting the front back in. Make sure it's in the cup. There you go. And then you want to line the back part into there. And then this is where it gets kind of tricky. You gotta mash this spur gear back into the groove. Oh, it's almost there. You see that groove where the bearing goes in? Right there. You gotta push it all the way down until it's flush. Because right now, you see how the back is lifting up like that? Yeah. I'm gonna push this all the way down. Ooh, just like that. Took some grunt there, but got it. So now, this whole bulkhead in the back is back onto the chassis. Simply turn this to the side. That's it. This back plate will fall off. All you gotta do is just slide this back in like that and then put your screws back on. So I'm gonna do that now. All right, so the way this rear plate or this rear skid plate back here gets in here, it's gotta go over this little hub or the stub thing that's sticking out, this metal part. So you actually gotta pull this off the chassis a little bit like that to open it up. And then you stick your skid plate in, your rear skid plate, and then you mash it back up. There you go, just like that. See, now everything is all flushed and in place. And then you have your rear skid plate in place. And now you could just hit these screws, put them all back. Remember, these three in the front are the long screws. These two are the short ones. Alright, so once you've put the screws back in on the bottom, just put the upper deck back on and you're done. But I'm going to show you the whole eliminating the play on the center drive shaft. You see how there's no play, there's no clicking forward or back, and you can actually see there's kind of like a cushioning that the O-ring gives to the end of the dog bone there. It gives it a little bit of cushioning, so that's a good thing, you know, cushioning. Alright guys, here it is, the complete rebuild of this truck. So let's recap from what I did from the start. So we started with the shocks because they got busted, front and rear. So that's another video, I'll put that in the description. So we did the shocks. We also did the motor mount because it got all bent up and I had to rehammer it, put it back in, redo the mesh. So now it's in there nice and tight. I use a red Loctite to permanently put these screws in because this one up here is kind of stripped, so it kept turning and it didn't want to stop. So I had no choice but to put red Loctite. And if I do need to replace this, I could just replace the whole unit, the motor mount and the motor mount seat. I could take it off from the bottom, which are these three screws right here. These three screws hold the motor mount seat to the chassis. So I take those three screws off, this whole unit comes off with the motor, and then I could just unscrew the motor off the mount when it's off the car and replace it. It's really cheap, so I figure if I just, you know, permanently lock these screws in here, then I'll have a better chance of this not wobbling around or coming loose. But yeah, easy fix if that ever happens again. So yeah, we did the shocks, the motor mount. I showed you guys how to replace the center drive shaft, which was super easy to do. I retaped the ESC with new double-side tape, so now it's nice and solid on here. It's not going anywhere. What else did we do? I showed you guys how to take out the drive shaft or the CVD axles, front and rear, and I showed you guys how to, like, you know, maintenance it by tapping it back straight, because the upgraded version and replacing it with another part is basically the same thing. It's just gonna bend on you, so might as well save the money, save that $20 and just hammer it back. And that's what I do. I've been hammering this back like 3-4 times already, and I've had this truck for over 4 years. Flawless. Really, guys, flawless. And these Badlands 3.8 Proline Badlands, these are actually the old model. The new one has a replacement hex inside where you could change to like a 12mm, a 17mm, so that's pretty cool. But these old ones, they're permanently 17mm, and I've had this for over 4 years. If you notice the you see that Mickey Mouse bad glue job that I did? Yeah, I don't do tires, but I learned from experience with this tire. So I've had to glue these tires maybe like 3 times already because they keep coming off the rims. But they work. They don't really spin evenly because it wobbles. They're not evenly glued. One side's a little bit higher than the other. It's, you know, it's bashing tires. It's not for speed, so I'm not worried about that. And it works great. It handles really good, guys. 3.8 Badlands. If you need to upgrade your tires, I highly suggest trying 3.8 Badlands Proline. They won't let you down, guys. These Desperado style tires are it. I don't want to curse because I want to make this video friendly, but they're the shizzle. Hope that's not cursing. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked, guys. This overall repair build, it's done. It's complete. I'm ready to take this back out and bash it. And with that said, I got something new to show you guys. Boom! RCLipoBattery.com. Now this company was nice enough to send me these batteries to test. So yeah, big thumbs up, thank you and appreciation for that. So make sure to stay tuned for the next video when I'm gonna bash this thing on some high powered battery. Yes sir. That's basically it for today, guys. Have a good one, stay safe, and as always, cheers. Yeah, I forgot to mention, everything I show you here will be listed in the description. There'll be a link to everything here. The truck, the replacement parts, the ESC. I'll even try to put a link for the Proline Badlands. And also a link for the batteries as well. So yes, guys, I can't wait to go bashing.